Hi guys, it's Steph from IDRIVECLASSIC, and today I'm back with this Renault Clio from 2001. Now I know you're thinking, Steph, that's not a classic, what are you doing? Well, in today's video I'm going to talk to you about something we've done which has come through necessity and maybe not because we wanted to do it, which is the £300 car challenge. We set ourselves the challenge of finding a daily car for under £300 with 12 months MOT, and it had to look vaguely acceptable to be used every day for work. And this is what we've come up with, this Renault Clio from 2001. And so in today's video I'm going to show you around the outside of the car. You've already had a sneak peek and you'll notice it doesn't look too bad, and then we're going to take you inside the car so you can have a look at the interior. Spoiler, it's not the best. And then we're going to take her out for a drive because I think you're really going to love her. I mean, even I've started loving her, and I don't even like modern cars. So let's head on out and we'll see what she's really like. Even though this isn't a classic car, and you've probably seen one of these in your local Asda or careering around your local McDonald's car park at some speed, thought I'd show you around this car so you can see what we got for £300. And I'm going to show you warts and all, things like the dents in the door, the scrapes on the mirrors, and the fact that one of the wheel trims is actually off a Nissan Micra, but we're going to get to that in a minute. So as we look around this car, you'll probably notice it doesn't look too bad for the money. And I'll be honest, I was surprised. We haven't yet washed it, so the car that you're seeing is the car that we saw when we went to see it. And here we are, we're coming round to my favourite accessory, the Nissan Micra wheel trim, which is just located here, and it's absolutely hilarious really. Now, the only sticking point for me on this car that I think we actually do need to probably sort out sooner rather than later is this front wing that looks like it's probably crashed into a fence post or something, but it's not going to impair the driving experience, and those lights could do with a clean. Now, let me show you the inside, because unfortunately that is where this car lets itself down. Now, I will always tell you, interiors aren't the be all and end all, but this takes a biscuit, because it's a shame, because on the outside it doesn't look too bad, but inside it seems to have been, well, ridden quite hard. And I'm just going to show you a nifty little accessory they've added in. That little switch is for the starter motor, because unfortunately the wiring's gone, but hey ho. Now you can see these seats are really heavily stained, they're really heavily used, but there's no rips and tears, so they can probably clean up a little bit. But we wanted to show you this car before we did any cleaning, before we did any modifications, so you can truly see what £300 actually buys you. And as you look inside, it doesn't look too dated, and it appears to have everything you need. You've got your electric windows, you've got a heated screen, you've got a sunroof, you know, seat belts all through the back for safety. So in fact, it's not actually that bad at all. Now let me start the car up so you can hear how she sounds, because I think that's where she truly shines. Now, it wouldn't be one of my videos if I didn't start the car up for you, but don't expect it to sound too exciting because it is a modern car, so it's not going to sound incredible. But I will give this car one accolade. It sounds very quiet and very smooth, so have a listen. And P.S., we've got that little switch that you saw on the look around, and that's because the starter motor wiring has gone, and someone's put that in as a little fix. But this car costs less than £300. Who cares? It starts every time. So let's start it up. We turn the key all the way around. We flick the little switch. We flick it up, flick it down, and that's the car started. I'm going to give it a little rev so you can hear what it sounds like. Again, modern car, but as you can probably hear, we can't really hear anything. And that's quite good, really. There's no knocking, there's no tapping. Even when you get the bonnet up, the engine is still so quiet. And that was one of the great indications for us, because if we turned up and the engine would have been knackered, it would have been an absolute no-no. So now that we've started the car, let's head on out and hear what she sounds like as we drive around. You may be wondering, why are we doing the £300 car challenge? And I wish I could tell you that it was for a laugh or just for the channel, but actually it's through the grim necessity that none of us have any money, and Tom needed a car. So Tom's one of my friends. He lives locally, and he used to have a very iconic green Peugeot 106 named Sandra. We went in lots of adventures in Sandra, and unfortunately Sandra had terminal rot amongst many other issues, and she went in for an MOT. We all thought she might pass and it might not, so basically we said we don't think it'll cost him more than £300. So Tom had £300, and we said for £300 we think Sandra will get through the MOT, and the garage said it was going to be more like £3,000. So we went back to the drawing board. Tom had £300, and we said, right, what are we going to do? And Tom said, well, I need a car and I need one quickly. And so Tom was in a really bad position. He had no money. £300 is really nothing to buy a car in the UK. He had to have a black box fitted because that's part of his insurance policy. It needed to not push his insurance premium up massively because he doesn't live in the best area, and it needed to be something that was cheap enough to run around, and hopefully we could have a go at fixing it as well. So we went to see a car in Manchester with a squishy floor. We went to see a Citroen AX, and we went through many Facebook and eBay car adverts, and I slowly felt myself losing the will to live. And then Karen the Clio came up, and thankfully she wasn't too far from my place of work, and I went to see her. And so now we've got Karen the Clio for less than £300, and I think driving her, actually, she's a really good car. So I think the next thing to talk about is why did we pick Karen, and how can you find your very own £300 car? Now you might be saying, well, for £300, what the hell are you going to get for £300? And I certainly thought that too. I said to Tom, I really don't think that budget is enough. I said, I think we're going to end up with something that looks like it's out of Wacky Races, and I absolutely dread to think what we're going to bring back. And he said, no, he said £300 as high as I can go. So we had to establish what a good car looked like and how we were going to vet what a good car looked like. And it certainly wasn't the KA that Tom sent me, where the door was caved in and it looked like you'd have to climb in through the passenger side. So we said the things that we were going to check were the MOT history, and if you're in the UK you can just Google DVLA MOT history and type in the registration of a car. And so we did that for a few cars. Some of them came back looking like they had turned from Cat D write-offs into concourse cars within 48 hours. And you know with a bit of common sense, you know that that car is going to be horrendous and things are going to be covered up. So we said the things that we would compromise on in terms of what a good car looked like were the interior and how desirable the car was. So it didn't need to be cool, it didn't need to be amazing inside, and as you've probably seen from the look around inside, it does look like a family of animals have died in this car, but it's still a really nice car and it's driving so incredibly well. And that was one of the other things. Take it for a little drive round. Did it drive okay? Did it sound okay? I got underneath the car. Now I'm not a mechanic, but I know what a rotten car looks like because I own plenty of them. So we had a look underneath, and before I went to see the car, I looked up, I typed in the model number, well the model type and the manufacturer. So I typed in Renault Clio. I wanted to see where would it go, what would I be looking for. There are so many guides on the internet, and so I checked all of those. We checked under the bonnet, and so for me it was stuff like that. It was structural integrity on site, MOT history, and what did it look like on the outside, because if it starts to look like it's going a little bit, then it's definitely going a big bit, because you only ever see, if you imagine like an iceberg sitting on top of the sea, that is what rot is like on a car. If you see a little bit, you can guarantee there are a lot more problems going on under the surface. So we said that that was one of our criteria. If it looked really rusty, we were going to walk away from it. And as well as that, Tom ambitiously told me he wanted 12 months MOT, which personally I thought we weren't going to get. And Karen actually came with 364 days worth of MOT, which is incredible. It's fantastic, and it is proof that if you're sat at home and somebody is telling you that you need a finance car, I think that Karen and the Cheap Car Challenge, as it has been named, are very good proof that you don't need to be spending thousands of pounds on a daily runner. You can get something for under £500 that's perfectly acceptable and incredibly roadworthy too. And for those of you that are saying, well, I need a modern car because it's going to have all the amazing things that a modern car has, the only thing I can spot that this car doesn't have that I think maybe somebody might want is one of those little screens in the middle that tells you where you're going, or because it tells you what's playing on the radio. But if you're on a budget and you don't want to get caught in that weird debt cycle that you can get caught in so easily buying a finance car, this car's a great choice. You've got your ABS, you've got your seats that move, the steering wheel moves. I mean, can you imagine? The steering wheel moves, and someone's put a little hands-free kit in, so that's handy. You've got airbags all round, which, look, I'm not one of those people that is like, oh god, you know, a car has some airbags. But I think, you know, if you're trying to get somebody on side, like a parent or a loved one, into thinking that you don't need this, you don't need this hocus pocus car on finance. It's look at some of these cheaper cars, because they seem to have pretty much everything you need. They seem to have pretty much everything you need, and they seem to be pretty reliable as well. I did a lot of Googling before I went to see this, and I mean, French cars get a bad rap, but these Renault Clios, they seem to be quite well regarded. And I think as long as you're going for something that is, still vaguely memorable, if you're going for something like a Rover Metro, you've got no hope, mate, so don't make the parts anymore. Whereas something like this, you can pop down to Euro car parts, so you can get parts. And it's that idea that I guess in this video I'm trying to say to you, for a very small amount of money and just for a little bit of your time, which isn't going to cost too much, you can get yourself out of this finance debt trap, and you can find a car that's got everything you need. I mean, it's got all the mod cons that you would want on, on one of these cars that, you buy for forecourt, except you're not paying the thousands of pounds. When you own a car outright, you aren't limited on your mileage as well. Which I think is a huge blessing, because some people need to do huge mileage, or they need to do a lot of travelling, and you can end up in a situation where you're having to pay back for miles and you don't own the car, and so you just end up in this carousel of never actually owning the car. And I don't think there's any shame in owning something of this age. I mean, this is 2001. It feels very modern to me, but it's also a great size as well, and you've got great visibility. And as I drive along, I've got, in fact, apart from that headrest that's doing my head in, you've got really good visibility all around, and you can see things, and you've got your electric windows, and you've got your little mirrors that move with electric. So you've got all the things. You're not having to do what I do and jump out and move the mirrors by hand, but you've got everything you need. And it's a great car to drive. It's very smooth, and it's not exciting. Look, I'm going to be honest with you, it's not exciting, but I think this actually has been a great investment, because the great thing for Tom now is he owns this car outright. If something happens, he doesn't have to worry about paying somebody back, or going to a dealership, for example, and having to have it repaired. Your options are a lot more open when you own the car outright, and I think that this car is a great option for somebody who's starting out, or I know a lot of people with classic cars are quietly looking for something to run alongside that's a little bit more modern. And this Clio is great. It's got everything in it. It's smooth, it's quiet, it's got aircon as well, and it's really hot in the UK at the moment, hence why I'm not wearing one of my trademark jumpers. It's very, very hot, so aircon's quite nice actually. And so yeah, I would honestly give this car, and I know this is going to shock a lot of you because you know how much I love a classic, but I'm also realistic as well. So slightly digressing, I know that some of you guys do need something a little bit more modern, and I would give this car 10 out of 10, and I would say honestly, have a look at one of these. They're cheap, it's cheap to insure as well, it's in the lowest insurance bracket with the whole black box system. Tom's under the age of 25 and he's managed to be insured on it, so it kind of ticks a lot of boxes there. And I think as well, if I had to run, if I very reluctantly had to run a modern car, like I don't know in what situation that would be, because I don't think it would ever happen, but I think that I would definitely consider something like this, because it's a great size. I think it's very, I've been milling around in it. It's very easy to park. It's very easy to see what you're doing. It's sticking to the road really well. The handling is very nice actually. So for those of you sat thinking, I need a modern car, or I need a cheap runaround, or you've got lots of different things going on in your mind, this car is a great option. And I would very reluctantly, because it's not the most exciting thing I've ever driven, I would very reluctantly give it 10 out of 10 and recommend it to anyone. And I think one of the other things, guys, is that the speed on this is really, well, it feels really deceptive, because I'm so used to driving classic cars when 30 miles an hour feels like 30 miles an hour. So I'm like milling along, almost breaking the speed limit. I'm like touching the top end of the speed limit, and I feel like I've barely got my foot on the pedal. And again, I know a lot of people say, oh well, I need a modern car to keep up with modern traffic, or to pull out or overtake or the rest of it, but this car's great. I mean, I'm putting my foot down now, and I'm really not hammering it whatsoever, and I've just gone from 40 to 60 as simple as that. And I don't think anybody needs any more power than that. In fact, I was talking to somebody yesterday and we were saying nowadays you can't really get up to any great speed in the UK because there's so many cars and it's just painful. And to be honest with you, this is a great choice, and we've been driving it around for a little bit, and the fuel economy is great as well. And for some people, that's what matters. And I hate to say it, look, I hate to say it, but it is going to be a classic soon. It's 18 years old. Is it 18? Yes, it's 18 years old now. My maths is terrible. It's 18 years old now. You can start getting classic car insurance policies from about 20 years plus. So this isn't far off hitting that cusp of becoming a classic as well. And I think that just like the 90s cars that people are starting to forget, or that they're starting to come off the road and they're just disappearing, like that poor Peugeot 106 that's now it's now jogging along the motorway in the sky. This car is great because it's going to be a modern classic, and I think that it's a car that's worth keeping as well. I think actually as I drive it, I think it's a car worth saving. I mean, look, I don't know much about French cars, and I certainly don't know much about modern cars, but I really can't see what you're getting when you're spending 15 grand on a forecourt, what the hell you lot are spending, that you can't get out of this car. It's got everything. And you know what? I really didn't think I was going to be proved, I thought I was going to be proved right in the cheap car challenge, and I didn't think we were going to be able to get anything like what we've got here. So guys, if you're at home and you're worrying and you're thinking, oh, you know, got to look at the finance option, or, you know, a decent run around is out of my grasp, because I know some of you are still looking, get on Facebook Marketplace, get on eBay. There are so many little cars like this, and in fact, once we started looking, we found loads of them. So get out there, save one of these cars, and pick it as your daily run around, because I'm actually very reluctantly having a really, really nice little day out. And I think one of the things that I bore on about this quite a lot anyway in life, but I think as a society we've become very throwaway. I mean, back in your 50s, 60s, 70s, people were driving cars, and it was really normal to drive a car that was maybe 20, 30 years old, bodge it up, keep it going, repair it, whatever you had to do to keep it going. And people used these cars and didn't think that it was acceptable to get rid of a car after maybe some people are doing it every 3 years. And I think as well, I don't like to get on my environmental high horse, but we need to start thinking about the environment a little bit more. And I think one of the best ways we can do it is with cars, because we live in such a throwaway society, and people are just saying, oh, cars like this, people are like, nah, what's the point? It's 18 years old, 19 years old, 20 years old. Well, so what? It doesn't actually matter. This car is still a really, really nice car to drive, and it's got everything that you would need in a daily car. So why wouldn't you pick a car like this? So again, talking about all the modern aspects and stuff, taking all the modern aspects out of it, taking the cost out of it, it's worth trying to keep cars like this going as well, because environmentally we are running out of resources quite quickly, and there's a lot of plastic, and there's a lot of man hours, and there's a lot of finite resources involved in making cars like this. So I think, well, why wouldn't we keep them running as long as possible? So if nothing else, what do you think about saving the planet and picking one of these cars? Because, well, why not? It's a great car, easy to drive, and it's cheap. Guys, I really hope you've enjoyed my video on this 2001 Renault Clio, which is a total step change to what I usually do. But hopefully, because I know a lot of you guys have been saying to me about you getting these cars on finance, or you're getting caught in finance traps, and you don't know what to do because you can't run your classic car every day, but you don't know what your other options are. Hopefully today's video has given you some idea about what you can do with not too much money at all, actually, because it's a great car and it drives very well, and I think it would do a great job, and it would do you absolute justice as a daily. Now, although this is a very different video to what I usually do, I really hope you've enjoyed it and found it at least a little bit entertaining, me driving around in a modern car looking like someone in fancy dress. Now, if you've enjoyed, I hate to say this, and I'm saying this very reluctantly, if you've enjoyed this video as much as, dare I say it, I've enjoyed driving this car, don't forget to hit like. New videos go up every Wednesday and every Sunday, usually 9 times out of 10 about classic cars, and they're usually pretty entertaining too. So if you haven't hit subscribe already, make sure you do. And until next time, take care and drive safely.